Welcome, folks, to another episode of Choral Living. Get that out of here. Get that out of here. We have an amazing show for you tonight. We have special guests on the show tonight. We've got another YouTubing, podcasting, whatever you want to call it, team out there. We have our guest, Jim, who's with us, and Terry, who's joining us via Skype from the Jim and Terry Show. Welcome, Terry. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you, James.
It's going well. So, we've got a bunch of perspectives that we were going to kind of jump into tonight. But before we just get into everything, I thought it might be good for Jim and Terry to tell us a little bit about their show and what it's all about.
Take it away, Jim.
Take it away. What's the Jim and Terry Show all about?
Well, first I want to say I'm hurt. They said, welcome, Terry. and left the old man sitting in the corner, moping about the whole thing. It's the Jim and Terry Show. That was Terry's idea, Terry's creation, and the humbleness of Terry. He threw my name in first in case we get into trouble. I'm first on the list to get sued. That's pretty well what it was all about. Anyways, so Terry and I have been friends for 1,000 years, and I would go over to Terry's house and we would just talk and talk and talk. And then eventually Terry said, we just won't shut up, so why don't we just make a show?
Why not?
And that's what we did. And when we used to get together before the COVID restrictions, we would break in between two of our shows. We'd break and we'd have a lunch, and then we'd do one more show, or a coffee break and have a show. And the better show was when the cameras weren't running, right? We would talk about incredible stuff. Anyways, that's how we all got together. Terry lives in wonderful downtown Bob Cajun, and I live in Pefferlaw. So Terry,
is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Terry, about
the origin story?
The origins.
It's all myth, I tell you. It's a myth conception. Whatever Jim said, it's purely fabrication. The truth is, two retired guys with time on their hands used to get together physically in Bob Cajun, and we used to share a coffee, and Jim would stay for lunch, and he'd have the best meals, homemade soup, grilled cheese, whatever, and we would talk and talk and talk. And eventually, when I did retire, I thought this would be a good opportunity to do something. We're both musicians, we both have studio equipment, and we went to another level and decided to press record while we talked and talked and talked.
You've got such a radio voice, Terry. It's so, it's very soothing. You're very articulate, and I think you guys do a good job of getting your message across. And one of the reasons I thought it would be good to have you guys on the show is because you seem to, you guys get along. You also share differences in perspectives on many issues, but you still can get together and talk it through, even though you have your differences. And I think in a day and age where we are facing a ton of that right now, I think it's good to talk things through. Not only with, the people that you agree with, but the people that don't necessarily agree with all the things that you agree with. And how we do that, I think, is very important, right? So I thought we could start off easy in the subjects. One of the things I love about your show is when you guys talk about aliens and SpaceX and all those
We love aliens.
Amazing things. So, I thought I would throw it out there. Maybe because we've let you guys do a lot of talking. We'll let Justin kick this one off because I think he actually has the answer to this.
To what? 42.
Is there life on other planets or is there not?
There's definitely life on other planets, without a doubt.
Excuse me.
There's definitely...
It's a mathematical certainty.
It's a mathematical certainty.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why haven't we seen any of these aliens? I don't know. Why haven't we seen a lot of different things? Doesn't mean it's not possible. If the universe is infinite, or at least incomprehensibly vast, it just seems likely to me that there's something out there.
Yeah.
Do you think
I
they're
agree
here?
I agree with Justin, only because the one instance that we know of, which is us, means the possibility of another us is
Sure.
perfectly reasonable.
Sure. Good
Yeah.
way of putting it.
I think it'd be great if there wasn't, as well as I think it'd be great if there was. I just think that both of them would be absolutely amazing.
It's not a huge thing. It's not like. It's actually not that interesting to me because, with everything else that's going on, especially right now, it doesn't take the forefront of my mind. I mean, I'd be obviously super interested if there was a little bit more concrete evidence of us seeing something like that. I don't trust, I'm not hook, line, and sinker with the evidence provided thus far, is what I would say.
You're not convinced by the Tic Tacs.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not convinced by them. I think they're playing with us. I don't know. I think they're
They're
messing.
playing
with
with their forward-looking infrared radar on those F-35s.
Yeah, it's
I'm not sure.
What I think we are in, I think we are the dumb people from Star Trek. That the Prime Directive was made for, and they're looking down on us, saying we cannot get involved with these people yet. They're not ready. I actually think that is probably what's going on, but it's just an opinion. But I think that is what's going on. That's why.
Well, on the Jim and Terry show, we would allow you to have that opinion, though we may not share it.
Oh,
Well, I want to say something
Okay,
about it because everybody keeps saying that there's no evidence or anything like that, but within our very world, we have seen that they have made the
here we
announcement.
go.
Wait, I've said it on my show. I haven't said it on your show, on the Jim and Terry show. We've said it, but not on Coral Living. Listen, a year ago they made the announcement. They said yes, they're there. Obama said yes, they're there. We don't know what they are. They made the announcement, but as conspiracy theories and stuff go, and all of this trying out humanity, in that time period, they gave us a year up to the point where they told us flat out, looked into the camera, and said they're there. We don't know what they are.
Terry's dying in the background.
That's what they said. They told us
I
all
have
that.
the advantage of seeing James and Justin react while you are speaking.
I'm used to it.
You have very broad shoulders.
Here's the
my
thing:
friend.
when I hear your argument, I hear what you're saying about that, but when you say they made the announcement that they're here, they didn't say alien life forms from another planet are here. They just said there's things there that we can't explain that are there. There's something there.
There's things there that we can't explain. They're not us.
But they're not saying aliens.
They're not us. They're not us. So they're probably Earthlings, but they're Earthlings of a different kind of being. That their ships.
They didn't say Earthlings. They're just saying they don't
Well,
know
my
what
point
it
is, my point is this: they said they're there. We don't know what they are, and they're not us. They made that
Can we
announcement.
explain who they said is?
The
Who's
government,
the they?
the government, the military.
The U.S. government and military.
Yes.
I think that probably gives a reason to be skeptical.
That's a good point.
Just throwing that out there for argument's sake.
Okay, well, I've done my argument. I think
Well, you
they,
did a
made,
great
they
job.
made the announcement and nobody cares.
I kind of care. When they talk about it, they didn't release it in like a grandiose. So like it didn't come out like, oh my God, there are life forms from another planet here. It didn't come out like that. It came out like there are things that are there that we can't understand, and we will let you know more when we figure out more.
Not things that, they didn't talk about plant life or a lightning burst. They said, they're there, we don't know what they are, we don't know who's piloting those crafts. They're not our crafts.
Well,
Meaning human beings. They're not human being crafts.
I know somebody that I've been friends with for since I was a toddler. And he is a good friend of mine. He swears he saw some sort of a flying, unidentified thing. But he lives in the city. Like, he said he saw it hover over an area and kind of ominously descend. He swears he saw something. But, I mean, I couldn't get much information. I was like, did you record it? Did you run up to where it was and all this stuff? And I don't know if he was shooken up or what the heck was going on, but he pretty much called me in a panic, saying, they're here. But, yeah.
What a topic to start with.
Yeah. Well, and we're trying to get out there. We're trying to figure out. I know you guys like to talk a lot about Elon Musk and SpaceX and stuff like that. Are there any new develops? Are they getting ready to blast off the next rocket yet?
I think Elon Musk is getting fed up. I know he's attacking the moon. Did you hear that?
He's attacking the moon. He's attacking it.
Did you hear that, Terry? That one of the old ships that he sent up there is gone rogue and it's going to slam into the moon. Did you hear that?
I did.
Yeah, March 4th. It's going to
I
slam.
was waiting for it to be his autonomous driving Tesla.
I was hoping it was going to be that. Really was hoping it. But it's they say it's going to leave a crater and everything. So it was launched like 7 years ago.
Yeah. Well, you follow this a ton. What about this super heavy thing that they're getting ready to get?
Well, they're waiting for the FAA, the Federal Aviation Association Society a-holes. They're waiting for them to do their environmental thing, and I think their hands might be being greased a bit by lobbyists trying to keep Elon down. Maybe not. But anyways, they have to wait. They're ready to launch. They're just waiting for the FAA to give the approval. And then they'll launch the largest rocket ever made. It's just huge.
That would be amazing to see. I have watched a few of the rockets doing their things. How I think it's amazing that they can blast them up and then land them perfectly, like back down again. Is absolutely incredible.
That little rocket that they do that little hop with is
Yeah.
about the size of a 747.
Yeah, which is insane.
Maybe a little bigger.
Way to let your dad have the expertise chair.
Now you mentioned, I think it was not too long ago, you mentioned an episode something about the Chinese. That you were saying that the Chinese their space program is starting to.
Oh yeah, they want to take over in every area in the world. I think in space they're right up there. As you know, they're on Mars, and they're also on the moon. Are they on Mars, Terry? They
have a rover on Mars, and they're hoping to build on the moon, but on the dark side.
On the dark side, where Elon Musk's rocket
Of
crashing
course, it's
into.
the dark side.
They're really advanced. They got their own space station up there, and they're developing a lot of stuff. And they'll steal it like that, and that's what they do. They'll probably have a starship like.
Nobody's on Mars. Nobody's even been to Mars. There's no robots on Mars. Doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't have spent a whole hell of a lot of this. That's a lot of money, man. All the money that they've spent and not have exhausted everything they can do with the moon to begin with. We haven't even sent another human back to the moon as far as how long has it been since we've been to the moon?
Well, we were waiting for a woman to get ready.
I am.
That was a joke.
Obviously, I'm kidding around.
Yeah.
Sure, there might be robots on Mars, but it is a little bit of a conundrum to me that there's even a rover on Mars when when there hasn't been more done with just the moon. I've seen pictures of the Arizona desert where they've dulled the lights like down on it, and it looks like Mars. It literally looks exactly like Mars. I've seen them do that. I'm not saying we haven't been to Mars. I'm just saying if you can do those pictures. Who cares? When they're offering vacations to Mars, then I'll care. But at this point,
well,
fish to fry.
There's a lot of people. I watch a show called
Martian Anomalies.
And more. Anyways, I watch that every now and then because and he never shows me anything that's inspiring, but I watch it, and they seem to think that all of these programs to go to Mars is to search for a previous life form or previous civilization. And so they think that that's what they're looking for when they analyze the pictures, but they think that that's actually what the world governments are doing. They're racing to find the ruins of an ancient civilization. I'm not saying there's one there. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying that's what a lot of people are saying.
What's Terry's take on aliens? What did Terry end up saying?
Well, he says he thinks they exist, right?
I agreed with Justin.
Yeah. Why do you think they may haven't communicated with us?
Well, I think they have. I've watched South Park. I know about the probes.
So you think they've actually contacted us? Do you think we know about them, or are you just joking around, or is there a reason?
I'm partially joking. Maybe that's more of a coping mechanism for the reality that the 797 pages of the Pentagon Papers that were all blacked out, of which we have only, 9, Jim? You can correct me with a number. But that is enough to say, what's behind the other 700 pages that we didn't get?
The 800.
So I am skeptical, but I understand that fear is a very real thing. Fear is what makes people do all kinds of what might be construed as irrational things.
Is that a segue into something?
Before we go to all the juice, I would like to actually talk about music first, because you guys, we obviously, you're my dad, so I've been with you around you forever, and Terry, I've known you for a long time. You guys are still pumping out music, putting it online, so I would like to give a plug so you can check out Jim Sampson.
Jim Sampson's music. Jim Sampson Music.
Jim Sampson Music on YouTube. And Terry, where do we find your music?
All over the place.
And there'll be links to those.
If you just did a Google search for
guys send me
Terry
some
Wigmore,
links.
you'd probably find a dozen music sites that have tunes that I've worked on with other people from all over the world, and they post their stuff on Bandcamp or whatever music site they have. My name gets put out with the tunes, so it's all over the place. You just have to Google my name. The one that I use most often is SoundCloud, and that's where most of the stuff that's current for the last 3 years has been posted. Mind you, I'm cheap, so I use the free level of that, which means I have to erase tunes every time we max out. We have to take them down.
Editing magic. Here's the links.
Yeah, well,
Link in the description.
I will share the links so people can check it out. But you have some interesting. I think you've got some David Bowie-esqueness in your music.
Well, that's what your dad's been saying for years.
When I hear your stuff, it definitely makes me think of David Bowie. Was he an inspiration for your music?
I wish I could say that I wrote some of those tunes that David Bowie recorded. I would have loved to have met him and worked on music with him. Yeah, he's an inspiration.
Yeah.
But I don't try to clone him. It's not an intentional, I'm going to set out to imitate David Bowie. No.
Yeah, no. Well, hey, you just, you get inspired by the people that you like, and then, so I'm getting to one of the questions I have asked you, and now I get to actually ask you, and you guys can both answer the inspirations for your music. Who are, name 3 people that you think have kind of influenced maybe the music that you write.
Me first?
Sure, why not?
Well, of course, there's way more than 3, but it probably started way back even watching Elvis when I was a little teeny boy sitting on the floor, maybe 3 years old. I thought, wow, that'd be kind of a neat thing to do. And then the Beatles, of course, influenced me in a lot of the English sound, but then it went into Tragically Hip. I really am into them. Gord Downie, of course. But Leonard Cohen, and I like Neil Young, and I like, obviously, Bob Dylan. And there's many more, but that's enough for me.
Yeah. What about you, Terry?
We're from the same generation, so the vintage 1960s rock, but my first one was Elvis Presley. I'm old sugar. Oh. So right from there, I rediscovered crooning later in life, but the transition there was rock music. So I did like Supertramp. I did like the harmonies of the Beatles. I do like the energy of some of the classic Aerosmith and some of the other harder edged bands. I do like that. I never considered myself to be a lead singer, so I don't have that range that your dad has in the upper registers. So that limited the kind of music that I was doing. But your dad's still in this. I have not done a Christian rock tune for quite a while. But that carried us through, I think, a lot of years. Jim's still doing that. Me, not so much. I sort of abandoned gospel and contemporary Christian music and pursued other interests.
Well, that's no. What about you?
Oh,
Favorite
Gordon
band?
Lightfoot. Gordon Lightfoot. Got to get
Gordon
that guy in.
Lightfoot. There's
He's
so
one of
much
my
stuff
big,
on your
big heroes.
website. I'm just checking out your website. It says wood carvings, and do you do jazz? Is that your jazz music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very eclectic and whatever. What was the question? The question was favorite bands, inspiring bands. You play so if people don't know, Justin here plays the piano. He's quite good at it. So. Mm-hmm. And I've
Yes.
actually had
Play guitar.
a paid gig in my life. Right?
Hey.
Hey-ho. Inspired. Name 3 bands that
Or 3 people?
tickle your fancy. I don't know. Nah. I like them all, man. When I was a kid, I probably listened to a lot of Weezer, Green Day, that sort of thing. I like Queen. I like stuff that's doesn't probably have too much depth to it. There's actually a really neat band out of New York right now called Pink Louds, and I've showed you Pink Louds, and their primary income for a while now has been street busking, like they're
Good for them.
street performers, but they got so much attention because they were holding these street concerts during COVID, and there's people that are like, man, they saved our summer. Everything was closed down, and these guys were still out in the streets, with social distancing and everything like that, but nevertheless doing live concerts out in the streets. And so I checked out some of their music, and the lead singer's a really interesting character and plays the kalimba. I don't know if you know what a kalimba is, but they play the leads. Oh yeah, I ended up buying one too after I saw them because the lead singer has like an electric kalimba, like it plugs into an amp, and they play it. So it's anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna stop ranting about music I'm kind of into. But yeah, Pink Louds,
Okay,
check them out.
James, you got to give us yours.
I got two come to mind, like of 3. You'll laugh at this seeing as my name is James, but Jimmy World was a big band for me. I like Jimmy Eat World. Skillet obviously was a huge band for me, and I really like Tool now. I find Tool's a really interesting band. I got there's a lot. I really like there's a guy out now which is weird. Some of his songs I don't like, but some of his songs I do like. His name's Tom McDonald. He's kind of an interesting character. I've referenced him in one of my episodes before on brainwashing. But he's a YouTube rapper. He's self-made. He doesn't have I think he does have people now, but for the majority of his career, he made himself famous on his own without anyone. Just him and his girlfriend. His girlfriend does all the videos, and he's a very interesting character.
What about Zom?
Zom, I don't know, who are they?
Zom was James's band.
Zom back in the day.
So James plays guitar.
Yeah.
Justin plays piano.
It's been a long time though. I've been thinking about pulling out an acoustic.
Yeah, you should.
Might get inspired to do that.
Do it. Maybe you could start a whole music thing with this.
Yeah, maybe, sure. Why not? But yeah, so yeah.
You need some Jimmy Buffett for choral living. Sorry.
Well, I would like to just also add Bruce Springsteen to the list.
Yeah. Who just sold
his
whole catalog of music for what, $500 million?
Sure, yeah.
$500 million.
Yeah. So he's
the ones who got a notion and a notion deep inside.
Is that Bruce?
It's pretty good.
That Brucey?
You're
Badlands!
It's good
The Samson
stuff.
clan gone amok.
All right. So now that we've dealt with the comfy cozy, we've all warmed up. Let's get into the meat and what's going on. We're living in tumultuous times. We're living in crazy times, and we're talking about differences of perspectives and where we come from and stuff like that. But one of the giant topics, obviously, on your show a lot is talking about the pandemic, talking about COVID and what's going on in the world. And right now there's a lot of division on this subject. And what's kind of interesting right now about the people that are here in this room right now is we have, I think, people from all camps, whether it's one side to the other to the middle. We have everyone here talking about it. And I will pull from your playbook here and say this. Before we even talk about it, I think the good thing to note is that the world would be a very boring place if we all believed in the exact same thing. So with that said,
I don't think I've said that.
Amen, Brother Sampson. Amen, Brother Sampson. Put up your hand if you agree. Amen.
Okay, all right, I'll own it. Then it's mine. If you didn't say it. You never said that?
I may have.
You said that. But okay, all right.
You know, he's never been
I'll
the
own it.
same since he went to that Zen garden.
Yeah. With that said, as we speak, there is a mass of people descending upon our capital in these times.
Is it covered?
What's that?
Is it covered?
Is it covered?
Is it covered on the news?
Covered on the news? A little bit. They're starting to. I think they've given up on the potholes. The truckers aren't protesting for the potholes in the highway right now, so I think they've given up on that story. But they are doing whatever they possibly can to prevent this from happening. They've shut down the convoy Facebook page. They have frozen their money.
GoFundMe.
Their GoFundMe. They have blocked and shut off the cameras on the highway of the truckers going towards the convoy. They are doing everything they possibly can. They've tried shutting down parts of TikTok, parts of YouTube. They've rolled back counters. They're trying to stop this. This thing is happening. And as of today, I feel like mainstream has finally decided to admit that it's actually happening, and now they're preparing for it. So, with this coming,
Just stay still. I'm rocking back and forth.
run, run. With
We're
all
all
this
going to start
happening-
doing the pendulum thing
With all
with
this-
the James. We're all going to start rocking together.
with all this happening, what do you guys think? What's going on? What is going on here? Are we witnessing something? I don't know.
History
in the making.
I think so.
James the Elder, go ahead.
I think the aliens are behind it.
Maybe.
Safe territory, my friend. Come on, risk something here.
What do you think? Do you think there's anything happening here?
Oh, I think there's something happening for sure. I have a question though. Like I heard that their GoFundMe was frozen, but you said that that's the government. Can the government freeze GoFundMe?
What I've heard a few. I've heard you say that. I've heard from the mainstream media. I've heard that the reason the funds got stopped was because GoFundMe wants to allocate. They want to make sure that the money gets distributed
Where it's supposed to go.
correctly.
Yeah.
The truckers, I've heard the truckers who are running it say that the government is blocking them, that they sent Justin Trudeau's Seymour Butts, that whoever that guy is. It's ridiculous. Is it Seymour Butts? Is that the guy's actual name? But it's not
I don't know who
I'm
you're
telling
talking
you,
about.
it's
Gerald
something
Butts,
like
maybe?
Butts. It's something like Butts, this guy's name.
Gerald Butts
Gerald Butts. I don't know, maybe.
Seymour Butts.
Seymour
used to be his the Prime Minister's right-hand man.
Yeah, they
in
were,
Ottawa.
they were saying that he was
Seymour
big on shutting this down. So I don't know. I have a hard time believing anything that comes from mainstream media now.
Well, did you hear what the correspondent Phil McCracken was saying?
Zach McCracken and the alien mind benders.
So does that answer your
Oh,
question?
so clear.
So
Okay, we have different perspectives. The media coverage is something that James has been on about for a while, saying that the protests are not being covered. I'm not sure that I agree with that. I do agree with the right to protest, so I celebrate that. But as I posted on my response to the video links, I'm not sure that in a pandemic, freedom is the issue. Health is the issue. That's part of pandemic. So, and I'm not sure about that either. I am sure that science and data drives informed policy. And without science and without data, you don't have anything but misinformed policy. And I would point you to Florida and Governor DeSantis and his new, we would call it a health minister. I don't know what they call that position, but they are a little suspect in terms of their management of COVID policies and procedures. Probably, from my point of view, because they are not informed, the data is not driving them, and they remain an outlier in the United States, along with Texas, Alabama, Missouri, and a whole bunch of other good old boys.
Yeah, I hear what you're when I listen to your show a lot, I listen to what you say about I believe in science and data too. I believe that when a lot of people look at the numbers, they are seeing two different things, and they're filtering it through their own life situations, their own paradigms, and I think lining it up with your own intuition, your own life experience, and what you're visually seeing. You have to be able to take everything that you're seeing. There's been so much deception, I find, within this whole situation, that I think there's an uprising now within this country, because they feel like they've been being lied to for so long that they're fed up, and they don't, like right now our prime minister is on vacation in Costa Rica when there is an army of people descending upon his capital.
I understand perfectly.
He's vacationing in Costa Rica right now while this is going on.
That's like,
It sounds like Ted Cruz going to Cancun, Mexico during the
it sounds
blizzard
like
that took
Ted
out his
Cruz
power in
when-
Texas.
Yeah. Have you been to Costa Rica this time of year?
Yeah, I've been to Costa Rica. It's a beautiful country.
I thought they were bankrupt. Maybe they need his money.
Maybe.
Okay, a couple of things. When you talk about rage and anger, I do think that's a tipping point. That's an issue that will drive people one way or another. I'm not sure. There is a coalescing of anger and rage. It seems to be, from my perspective, mostly on the right of center, probably to the far right of center. And it's a strange amalgam of dissenting points of view, all of which I would put on the outlier side of things. So in statistics, an outlier is that anomaly that you knock off either end of your chart so that your graph remains mostly nominally true. And I'd say that the extremes are the ones that we're looking at. I looked at natural health. I looked at the sources of what I would call fake information, misleading information. And a lot of it seems to be from well-meaning people who used to be the yoga moms and all that kind of, nice, well-intentioned, looking at natural, organic foods, exercise, all of that stuff, but they are coalescing around freedom. And I'm not sure why, except to say there's enough misinformation out there that people are being steered in a not so pleasant way.
Are you saying that group that you mentioned are representing the far right in this instance?
Yes, which is odd because organics and hippy-dippy stuff usually goes with the left. And that's why I'm saying this is something bizarre going on. And I left a quote, if you check it out to one of your links, I put a little quote in there where a doctor observes, something's going on the internet that's taking what would normally be rational, sane people, your soccer moms, normal people, and getting them to yell and scream at parent-teacher meetings and conduct themselves at Walmart, threatening people, shooting people because of mask mandates. What is going on when normal people do abnormal things?
What do you think of Joe Rogan and his platform? Because
don't get me started.
You gotta listen to the show. I know exactly what Terry. But I was shocked when you did mention about Joe Rogan. I was very surprised that you had said that you thought he was a far right extremist. When if you listen,
he's hard to plot. He's actually hard to plot.
If you listen to Joe Rogan hangs out with Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard.
Sometimes.
He doesn't hang out with them.
Well,
he's had them.
he's had them on their show, but he's had Tulsi a few times. And in my opinion, I really like Tulsi Gabbard. I think she, in my opinion, was the best Democratic. If I had anyone to vote for, and if it was my say, I probably would have chosen her. She seems to go down the middle very well. When it comes to the COVID situation, like I'm okay with most of it. I draw my line on mandates, and I'm still not sure about this. I'm still not sure about this vaccine. I think if people want to take it, you should do what you want. You should have your choice to take it. But there have been some scary things going down with. Won't mention the person's name today, but I had a talk with a doctor today. And I said to the doctor, I said, if I had COVID-19, would you prescribe anything to me? Would you give me any therapeutics? And the doctor told me, no, I would not give you any therapeutics. And then the doctor said, I can't. And then went on to say, if you're talking about ivermectin, monoclonal antibodies, or not remdesivir, there's another one. There's a third one, I can never remember the name. Hydroxychloroquine. She said, when COVID happened, they were all pulled from the shelves, purposefully. She said, before COVID, I could prescribe that.
She or he.
She or he.
Or it.
Said I could do that, but when COVID hit, I was given direct orders. I was sent letters saying I could not do that.
For good reason.
But I'm saying this doctor said that before that it was prescribed to humans.
Yes, ivermectin is used for certain kinds of conditions. It's used for anti-malarial medication. My brother has to take it before he goes to Africa. So it is one of those things. It is used and is prescribed and has been around a long time. It is not a COVID treatment or therapeutic.
Well, I will tell. This is what the doctor said to me during this. This was today that this happened, by the way. The doctor said. So I said. Then I asked about the new Pfizer therapeutics that are supposed to be coming out. You said.
He said.
Or he said. She
It
said.
said.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. She said. Whatever. They said. They said. That these new pharmaceutical drugs that are coming out are all going to be ivermectin knockoffs with monoclonal antibodies. And the last thing that the doctor said before I left, she looked right into my eyes and said, you know how many people could have been saved?
And I said,
Okay,
That
there
was the
are
last
outliers
thing the
in the
doctor said.
medical profession. There's no accounting for the outliers. I grant that they do exist. They exist within the medical profession. But the outliers are outliers. And you need to know where the bulk of the data and statistics come from. They come from mainstream, much like the media. The bulk of the news is genuine, is verified, is reported and retracted if you make a mistake. You have to do that with normal news reporting. Doctors have the same ability. They have their outlier data that they use, and there are ones and twos on the fringes. That will always be. The question is, who are you going to put your life's trust in? Because it will come down to a life decision.
Well, that was my doctor. So I do have to listen to my doctor, but it's not just my doctor. Did you ever listen? Did you ever listen to the two probably the most popular podcasts in the world right now are trending are Robert Malone and what's the other Peter McCauley right now?
Don't know Peter McCauley. Stay
Peter
away from
McCauley
Malone.
is the most cited is the most renowned cardiologist, has the most papers, documents written in the world, and said that ivermectin, they pulled it off the shelves and they should not have pulled it off the shelves. That they
Yes, I
repressed
read
it.
that. But the studies that I've encountered in my reading, and that's, who am I? I'm just telling you what I've read. And that's just that there aren't enough peer-reviewed studies on ivermectin for this application to justify its use in this
But it's
context.
super safe. They're saying the doctors say ivermectin is safe. It is won the highest esteemed medical awards.
It's easy to say these things, James, but until there's a published, peer-reviewed scientific paper produced, and there is none that I have found or read about.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
So okay, you're saying that about ivermectin, but why don't you hold the same weight towards the vaccine?
Because that's been in the works for over 20 years, 25 years nearly. It's been waiting to go. This is the perfect application for it, and they pulled it out, and Trump, God love his wee pointy head, got that one going. I will give him that credit.
The guy who invented the mRNA technology that goes into
He didn't invent it, James. He was part of the team.
Well, part of the team. Maybe he didn't.
He
invent
left
the
it
whole thing.
very early on in the process, but he was there in the beginning. I will grant you that.
He seems to be.
Truth be told, he gets some credit for it. Where he's now is crazy.
He is a Harvard graduate, so he can't be that dumb.
Well, you can't take it from him.
But it's not as though it is possible that guy. I mean, I'm just saying it's possible that guy has an agenda behind getting into the public eye and saying these things, and it's it's easy to dissuade people on either side with all kinds of very scientific sounding jargon. A lot of people are yapping about all kinds of different things. Who on earth really knows all the whole thing about it? I mean, I am kind of on the side of, if you want to use ivermectin, if you want to see how that works for you, roll the dice, and it's relatively safe. Maybe you ought to be able to use it. But it's a little creepy that it's been blocked and banned across the board. There is an established, it's not a good idea to necessarily lose faith in the medical institution and the scientific institution or institutions or whatever you call it, the field. Yeah. It's not necessary. That could be pretty destabilizing for people to be throwing so many ideas out there that are, messing with a lot of people's trust, where, 9 times out of 10, doctors and medical professionals and everything like that have your best interests in mind and are trying to, stringently and fervently tackle these issues. You know what I mean? But I think part of the problem is we're living in a day and age where it's becoming more and more possible to unearth nefarious actions and corruption and stuff like that, and people are starting to see some things they can't sleep well with. It
is also possible for conspiracy theories to take root on fringe websites, to be promoted by podcasters who have millions of followers and make the rounds, and we don't have a chance to put out all of the misinformation fires before they impact the casualty rates. The U.S. is going to hit 1 million easily.
But it's also just as plausible that with all the people with all the power, money, and control can manipulate the situation to give themselves more money, power, and control. That's why I play it safe.
Yes.
Man. I sit right on the fence. I request every time I go to get a shot for them to only inject half of the actual dose of it. I'm okay so far. I mean, I can't feel...
half of nothing is still nothing.
Yeah, well, I can't feel my right arm and my right leg, but I find half's the way to go.
Listen, I'm impressed that you guys are sounding very reasonable. Yes, you're right. There's a lot of ground to negotiate and talk about. I'm impressed by these 2 words that Justin just mentioned, which is trust, and I'm going to link that to one I introduced earlier on, which is fear. Trust and fear do not go together. And fear is what's taken over right now. And I think we need to get back to some level of trust. And I think it's in the institutions where they are not telling you the straight story. That will be found out, thank God, for reporters and for journalism. They're the ones who will uncover whatever there is to uncover and help us find our way through to the truth. But where someone makes a mistake, I hope that there is the apology, as in Biden apologizing to Ducey. You got to admit you're wrong at some point. So let's start. Biden did it. I like it. Let's apologize where we're wrong. And if we're not wrong, well then, let's have grace and compassion until we can help people find the right way.
The internet itself is like a huge player in the way all of this is rolled out. Like the internet, is like a massive jigsaw piece. I think when it comes to reported like everything. Just the fact that it's the fact that so many people have access to it, and there's all these avenues you can go to hear different viewpoints, is like plays a huge part in this. Talk about that. I gotta go. I think it's actually part of our human evolution, is that we are actually learning.
That was a Coral Living episode on evolution.
I think it's part of our human evolution that we are learning that we are learning to adapt. We are learning to adapt to all the different viewpoints being thrown at us, and what we're learning how to do is filter the bullshit. Now it's a growing process, so there's pain, and we make mistakes along the way as we're filtering all the bullshit and trying to figure out what's actually true and at the core. Now I have been quiet, and I want you in on here. So I want to hear what you have to say about this.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been a part of a great experiment that we've been doing today.
A generational experiment.
The theme of this show was, how do people get along when they differ so much? And the truth of the matter is, you just, take medication. Before you think this is just a coffee. Well, it's, there's more in it. So, a part of this experiment is this is how you get along. You talk about it. You don't change anybody's mind. Don't think you're doing that. You're not. Yeah. You're fooling each other if you think you're doing that. But you listen to the other person speak.
Normally things, when they tend to, I think normally over time when you hear other people's views, even if you totally disagree with what they're saying, it usually doesn't happen in the moment. It's usually over long periods of time. As you get to know each other, you might soften on a certain aspect of I've been listening to a lot of sources that disagree with the things that I believe in lately. And so, it brings, it calms me down, and it sometimes it infuriates me, but sometimes it calms me down, and it brings equilibrium, brings some balance to what's going on now. Do you guys think that because this is what I've been talking with about people who are in my age group, so this will be kind of like another thing. Do you think there is a difference in the way that boomers are seeing this situation and the way that maybe Gen Xers or millennials are seeing this situation?
I think maybe. I'll tell you why. Because back in our day, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have the cell phone, we didn't have access to everybody's opinion. We pretty well had to lean on the officials, those we elected, and those who. I'm being serious.
I was just about to say, and when they told you to hide under school desks.
We did. We did that, and it worked.
I'm kidding around.
We're all here. We survived, right? So we got through hiding under the desks. But my point being is,
no, we didn't, Jim. We're traumatized. That's what's wrong with us.
Yeah.
And so
we were a social experiment.
Did you actually have to hide under a desk?
No, but
I did.
Well,
Earl Beatty Public School. The siren was on top of the school. World War II vintage siren for the whole community, and you had to go under your desk.
Mom says she remembers that time and being really freaked out that it.
Oh, I remember the time. I was more curious when the alarm. Hey, my side street, we had military go down the side street in armored cars, and this is in Scarborough. And the sirens, Terry, would go.
The big World War II ones, yeah.
Yeah.
The night
it was kind of cool, but my poor parents, they were on the edge of a nuclear holocaust, But we had to pretty well believe what we were told. So, when they came into school and they gave us a booster shot, there was no questioning whatsoever. You rolled up your sleeve, they gave you a booster shot. And so now, because you've got so much access to so many's opinion, and the lack of trust comes in also, that a lot of these people with their opinions are making an awful lot of money leading a lot of people either right or wrong, but they're leading people, and they're not going to back track on that because it's worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions
They're
to them.
Yeah.
We didn't have that back in the day. We had anchormen, and Terry, you may remember this. We had anchormen before they had opinions. They just did the news. They didn't comment on the news. They just did the news.
What about Walter Cronkite?
Yes.
Well, that was like the beginning. You know, and now for the rest of the story. And you open the door, you know.
It feels like everything is an opinion piece now. I remember, like when I was a kid, even when I was a kid, I remember like you would cycle through like it'd be like just like the news would be like really quick, like bang, bang, bang. Then your weather, your sports, your It's not like that anymore. Now it's just like giant opinion pieces.
You are right, and there is the part of the problem. Maybe it's the large part, maybe it's the whole part of the problem. I love that bobblehead, Agent Orange.
That was a,
How you
that
guys
was a
frozen?
Christmas present, and I am not a Donald Trump fan. We should have a Donald Trump
Bobblehead Agent Orange. I do like the notion that you gotta watch your sources, and that's why I share this chart that I've shared with your dad about knowing where the political spectrum is, who's on the left, who's on the right, who's down the middle,
Is that the one
who's
you get when you
reliable,
Google?
who's unreliable.
Like you Google because I've seen it, right? It like shows the left all the way up to center and then
Yeah,
down.
remember that's just one person's assessment of sources. But they do it by measuring words in sentences, how often words repeat, how often words on the left repeat, how often words on the right repeat. So you could start to see patterns and synergies.
Yeah.
So consider your sources as the first one. Do what you're doing, James, which is consider other views. Go to the sides.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And make sure we get divergent points of view. And then you have to do, you say it's filter. I'm not sure that we're able to filter these days. When we were in university, we used to have to cite our sources. Nobody cites sources anymore, or very few people do. It's all opinion, as you say. I'd rather just tell us the facts. But as Kellyanne Conway said in year one of Trump, we have alternative facts. Now game over. I can't argue with you anymore because you got what you say as a fact and I've got what I say as a fact. Arguments or discussions have to be based on an agreement of what we are talking about. If we can't even agree on the data or the science, game over.
Right, it's not a game at all if there's no rules. It's not really, what are you supposed to do?
It's so hard though because there is like you get camps where it's like this is what it's saying over here. This is the hardcore facts, and the opposition is saying the exact opposite. They're saying your science is wrong and it's completely so. What I would like to you're big on data and science and I think there's nothing wrong with that. But I also do like a more holistic view where you also have to learn to build your intuition.
Yeah, like what about my feelings, man?
Yeah.
You hippie, light up some incense and let's get some crystals.
It's not just
feelings count.
I got crystals. No,
I'll get my Zen rake.
I do think there is something to building the skills of your intuition, learning to process. Like when you're being told something, that's fantastic. But what are you experiencing? Like my experience of COVID is probably totally different than yours. Like I lived through it. I worked every day through it. I didn't get one day off. There was no lockdown for me. I worked in the empty streets, the full streets, everything. I had to use all the public restrooms. I was by myself. So I was out there. So my experience to COVID and the people that I know who have been affected by the whole situation, that plays into some of my reactions and my beliefs about what I'm being told and what I'm actually believe about it and feel and all those things. So
you're right. You're quite right. And I can't argue against or contribute to your discussion based on personal experience. That is your reality. My reality is going to the hospital and seeing all these snotty little kids and having them hack and cough and being sympathetic to the parents who had to drag them there. But if I'm in Emerge and there are people just, where's the control? Hello? Or is this not a pandemic? What are we doing here?
Kids with COVID?
Sorry?
Are the kids you're describing, they're like COVID-ridden kids?
Well, we don't know. It's hospital emerge. You're in there like everybody else in a queue waiting to be seen by somebody. And in the meantime, you're in the general population, like prison. You're all held together. And you can't give up your number because you're the next in line. So my question was simply that the experience for me has been be safe. You only get one chance to be safe. Yeah. Otherwise, it's be sorry. And I'd rather be on my one chance to be safe and be cautious. So that's the way I've played it. And that's the way we've played it in our household. That's why the Jim and Terry show is still Skyping while surfing the 5th Omicron wave.
Is this thing ever coming to an end?
The Skyping?
No, the vid.
I think at one point it will. And I think rightly or wrongly, there are gonna be a lot more fatalities and a lot more infections. But we will get to some place where life will return.
Didn't our head of the medical department in the whole country, I'm sorry.
Dr. Tan?
Thank you. Didn't she say all pandemics come to an end? So
either
they kill off as many as they're going to kill off, and then...
Well, listen, they thought this one might be 5 years to 10 years. This is now, what, 2 to 3? I think we're doing okay.
We're going into our 3rd year.
Yeah.
It might come to an end this weekend. I know.
Did you really?
Is the world coming to an end?
It's fascinating to see what is about to happen. I don't know what to make because what everyone's saying is different. I've heard that right now there's anywhere between 20,000 to 150,000 truckers descending upon Ottawa as we speak. And I've heard anywhere from crowds from 250,000 to 1.5 million.
And Coral Living will be there broadcasting, bringing it to you.
Get your phone. I want to see the selfies.
If I can make it, I'm going to try and get there. We've rented a vehicle. I'm going to try and get there, document it, see what I can find. We're going to train in. We're going to take a train into the city and then come out. So it should be fun to check that out.
What's in the budget, Terry? He wants me to go with him. What's our budget for the Jim and Terry show?
Good question. You have to talk to the accountant.
Man in the field. Reporting live from Parliament.
Well, remember, the Jim and Terry show did entertain going to Area 51 in a Winnebago.
Yes, we did.
Was that when they were storming? When they were going to
Yes, we wanted to take that.
That's what I want to see. I want to see you guys get together again, do live streams, video. I'd like to see some of that happen.
And then we'll have to have Coral Living on our show, Terry.
Yes, well, you realize, Jim, we have the faces for radio. We're not the young guys with beards anymore.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen since we've been doing this, my face as we do our show. And no, I don't think I'm into that anymore.
Sure, why not?
I don't care.
Yeah.
Put my ugly mug up there. I don't care.
We have the radio-friendly voices, Jim.
Yeah. I got a face for radio. That's fine.
But isn't this good? See, we can all get together. We can all chat it up. We can.
Yeah, I thought the topic today was supposed to be friendship or something.
Well, I got my notes.
When you got up to go to the washroom, I already addressed the audience about that. I said this has been a lesson in what this show was about. Was how do you get along when you have differing opinions?
Yeah,
and this was a perfect example about it.
I think we did.
I feel like a lab rat, though.
I think we did.
I feel cheap and used in this experiment.
I think you did well. We're all marveled by your radio voice.
Oh, great! I do want to go over my six points, but you've already covered them, so I'm going to summarize them. Number one, it's okay to disagree.
Yes,
we are.
Definitely.
And we're still here. Nobody's head has exploded, as much as Jim says mine will every once in a while. Number two, mutual respect. In this case, it's generational respect, too. Respecting Jim, he's gone through a big chunk of life where he's had the school of hard knocks be his education. And you guys are at a place where you're learning to put your filters in place and decide what is true for you, whether it's intuition or whether it's academia, studying in a more traditional fashion, which is my route. But it's okay. We can respect each other and respect the dialogue. We have words, we can use our words. Just like we tell our kids, don't smack them, use your words. Okay, well, we're doing that. Number 3, be compassionate and listen with compassion as your lens. Okay, meaning switch places once in a while. Walk 2 moons? Walk
a mile
in
in
someone's
my
box.
shoes.
I know that's a Salvation Army one, walking whatever that is.
Lord,
But
we
there's a
can't
book.
have that.
How
can
many
we?
miles must a man walk down?
Oh, there you go. That's Dylan, or was it Peter, Paul, and Mary?
Dylan.
I don't know who it was.
It was
Travelers.
Was it Dylan?
It was Dylan.
I
He
thought
wrote-
Dylan did a cover. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
no, they did a cover.
I'm just trying to
Jim, now you can do your Dylan. Come on, you do a great Dylan.
Ah.
How many times does a man walk out? I don't think I do a very good Dylan, but that's all right. We can just sit here and talk.
I love
Blowing in
it.
the
You do
wind.
such a great Dylan.
Answer my
Number 4. It helps when there are significant things that we share. So what do we share? Well, Jim the elder, we share my friendship, your dad. That's a sharing of something significant. Music. You're all musicians.
All of
We
us.
share that.
We're all
All of
white.
us.
We're all white males.
I didn't want to go down that rabbit
Dirty
hole.
word, Terry.
And we're all male.
Oh, well, you spoiled it now. I'm going to throw away my list.
We're all pink. We're all pink skinned.
Yeah, beige.
Uneven tone. Oh, that's a good list. Thank you for sharing. Well
said.
I think we.
Well said.
Well done, gentlemen. Well done. Thank
think,
you for having the
I
Jim and
think-
Terry Show as your special guest.
I think we did really. I think we. Ew. I think we did
Sound
really
effect.
really good here today about giving a good example. Just talking things out. That was great. I want to thank everyone for watching the show. Thanks for the Jim and Terry Show. Check the links down below to see all their stuff. I'll have to get them off you guys. If you like the show, hit the subscribe, the like, the share it with a friend, and everybody. Until next time, stay spiritual.